Guys, I've been sitting on this since just before Easter. The iTech World 1300 something, I can't even remember what it's called now. There's been a massive explosion on the market of portable power stations, battery packs, whatever you want to call them. I've done some looking around. I'd sold the Patrol. I was looking at doing a 12 volt system for the Spacia, and was thinking, well, if I get another vehicle, I'm going to have to do a 12 volt setup in that as well. Now you start looking, the way to go now if you're doing a startup, if you haven't got any of the components, you do a lithium. So lithium battery, you need a lithium solar regulator to charge it, you need a lithium DC charger if you're going to run it off your car. Hundreds, thousands of dollars. So I picked this one up after doing some research, looking at all the different ones. The biggest thing I found was trying to find something with a lithium battery of 100 amp hour or more. Your Jackeries, your Blue Yetis, all them sort of popular ones that all the Yanks are using and that. Yeah, they're probably good for an overnighter, maybe in cooler conditions, but when it's only a 48 amp hour battery, that fridge on a 25 degree day in the car will use that in a 24 hour period, so it's just not enough. Whereas the 100 amp hour lithium is going to have the same draw as what my 200 amp hour AGM had in the Patrol. It's only 17 kilos and not 60, which is another massive help. And a lot of stuff built in. So if you start looking battery, you're probably looking at $1,000 even if you go cheapo on a lithium battery. This has got a 1300 watt inverter built in with two 240 volt outputs. That's going to be, well, I think it's a 1500 watt max output, so you're probably looking at $400-500 for one of them. Your solar regulator and DC charger. This is a twofer, so you've got a solar in with a mini Anderson plug, and you also got 12 volt in for a fitting there. I've got the 12 volt socket there so I can charge while you're driving. Or when I'm parked up, I can throw the solar mats on the windscreen on the roof and have that solar charging as well, or maintaining. Me mats aren't as efficient as they should be. But also comes with a 240 plug so you can charge it at home when you're out at the end of a trip. You've got three USB points on it and a USB-C. It's also got a single 12 volt socket out, which is a shame, and I'll get to that in a minute. And it's also got another little 12 volt out that runs, I'm not gonna have it, runs on that, so you plug that in and you've got the 12 volt socket, or I've got a 12 volt Anderson plug coming out off that. So at the time, I think it was about $2,300, which again, coming into Easter, thanks ZipPay, was able to pay for that. Used it for Easter. It ran the big King's 95 litre fridge in the back of the old man's cruiser all of Easter, no problems. And it pissed rain, cloudy, overcast. A little bit of solar I had was enough to keep power into it. It was in the back here for the Mei trip. Now, if I'm not camping in the back of the car, it'll stay here, and I can stack stuff in front of it or sit the mattress on top of it. If I'm going to camp in the car, normally it will be behind the driver's seat. I can move it around. When it pissed rain for a day and a half, take it into the hut, grab the fridge out, take the hut so you're not walking out through the mud back and forth to get a beer out of the fridge or food or whatever else. Just stuff like that. If you're Christmas time, you're going to a friend's place, nothing worse than having to walk out to the car every time to get a beer. Grab that, carry it inside, get someone to help you, or if you've got a small enough fridge, carry the fridge inside, it's there ready to go. Or just carry the fridge inside and use their 240 power. The other reason I got this too, at the time I picked up a big 18 foot Windsor van that had a split system aircon in it, that was a 900 watt aircon. Tested this on it with the 240, and I was going to run that aircon for 6.5 hours. So over summer, going to bed at 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock once the sun's gone down, putting the aircon on and letting it run for a couple of hours just to cool the van, and vice versa. It was a split system, so it would run the heater for about 2.5 hours before it start getting down on power, and you'd want sunshine. But just stuff like that, kettles, toasters, you're not going to have this stuff out in the bush, or are you? We might get to that eventually. But the best thing is, now I can have it in this. The caravan you seen at the start of the last video, I've had it on a couple of trips, same thing, this just got sat in the front of it, and my other fridge out of the FJ is in that, and just go for the weekend. I left home yesterday, it was on 80, it's used 20% power overnight, which gets to another issue. It's supposed to be 100 amp hour lithium. iTech World only read after the fact that they've had some issues in the past with their batteries not quite being as good, not having the capacity they advertise. And after having this for a few months now, I don't know if it's 100 amp hour lithium, just the way it sort of uses power, the power drops. And whereas with the big 200 amp hour one I had in the Patrol, even though it was a $400 eBay special, there seems to be a little bit of difference there. Now that just might be new fridge. I haven't checked to see the draw. It's using 50 watts now, which is about 3.5 amps. So same as normal fridges, but just how much it cycles I haven't got on top of yet. But yeah, if I sell this, I can just grab this, put it in it. I'm not selling the car with a $2,000 12 volt system in it. Now, do I need a 12 volt system? Probably not. I'm going to run a dedicated 12 volt off my battery back to here to an Anderson plug, because the rear SIG sockets in this, like most cars, turn off as soon as you turn the key off, which is no good. And also, when you're driving, you can plug your fridge into the car and have this charging, or just have this sitting there and then plug the fridge back into it when you stop. You don't have to have this with the fridge going and charging while you're driving. It's pointless. All you're doing is creating more heat through these plugs. That's all the good things. Now, there are some issues. As I said earlier, I don't think it's 100 amp hour lithium. It might be, but it just doesn't seem... It's the first lithium battery I've had, so it might be different to the AGMs, and the flies are bad. Second problem, the only output big enough to run a fridge is the 12 volt. Now, everyone knows 12 volt or fridges and SIG sockets are hopeless. It'd be handy if it had an Anderson plug out that you could plug a fridge into. It's got a 12-month warranty, so at the end of that 12 months, actually I think it's a 5-year warranty, but after 12 months of if it doesn't play up, I might just crack the top on this and put a couple of my own Anderson plugs on it, because I do love Anderson plugs. So that's one issue. Second issue, that's your micro Anderson plug, mini Anderson plug, whatever they call it. And as you can see, a little bit of a difference. Now, I've never seen these before, I never knew they existed. It's a lot lighter plastic, so you sort of got that stiff wire coming out. I can see that getting broken or sheared off on that, which isn't good, because sometimes solar's the only way to go. Other negatives, I suppose one with the screen, it's got output, input, it's in watts, not amps, which, yeah, rightio, they all are. It does have a battery percent meter with a battery icon that goes down, up, whatever, as its state of charge, and a temperature gauge on it. I don't really know why it needs a temp gauge on it. I prefer a time to empty or time discharge out reading on it, just so you know. Like now, fridge is running, still halfway through a trip, I've got 61%. If it says I've got 9 hours of battery left, well, no, I'm going to be home in time, and I won't have to worry about charging. I won't have to plug it in and charge it here. I'll just 240 it when we get home. But you can't. You're sort of guessing 61. Last night, I think I was sitting on 80 something. Went to bed thinking, yeah, rightio. Bit warm in the car last night. Condensation on the windows, all that. And the fridge running. Wake up this morning, 64. So it's dropped 20% overnight, which, one, it shouldn't. Because that's a lot of power. A lot of power overnight when it's not hot. really. Again, that's saying 17 now. That's probably about as hot as it was in the car last night, so it hasn't got that cold or that warm yet. But again, 17 kilos, nice and light. Might even be able to strap it on the back of the motorbike. We'll see what happens there in a later video. But I think that's the biggest thing when you're looking at 12 volt systems. The other thing I wanted to go for brand Australia, or brand that was in Australia, so if there's any issues with it, $2.5 grand or $2,300 is a lot of money to spend. I didn't want to have to mail away deal for warranty if something went wrong, because technology does not last these days. I wanted someone local, someone you could call, work the issues out and not have to post it back overseas or whatever. So went with iTech World. Again, look for a 100 amp hour battery minimum inside. The inverter, the only reason I got it with an inverter was because at the time I was running aircon. Now I've got a little icebox aircon that I might be putting in the caravan that this will run. Apart from that 12 volt, maybe a charger while you're driving, charge your power tools. Everything else I've got is 12 volt, so yeah. I said USB's there to charge everything, and it is good too having the output watts just to see just to see what your charging stuff's using. Sometimes you don't know how much the drone battery might take to charge, so it is good for little things like that. I suppose that's it for the iTech World 1300. Insert letters after this. Whatever it's called, I'm sure there's new models there. I know people get stuck to name brands, your Red Arcs, your all of them. When I was researching and looking, the Red Arc has a battery box. It might be 105 amp hour lithium, so still their Red Arc battery, which still comes from China. They slip a Red Arc sticker on the side. No inverter, no LCD display on it. It does have two Anderson plug outputs on it, which is 1+, but it just has a series of red, green and yellow dots vertically up the front of it that you can push a button and it'll tell you how charged the battery is, which in this day and age is ludicrous. How much do you think that is? Now, all the stuff this has got in it, $2,300. How much do you think the Red Arc one is? $3,500. $3.5 grand for the Red Arc power box. I know there's people, I'd say there's people that got too much money on their hands and will go and fit out or chopper 200 series, 300 series Cruise, whatever else, and although half the time the bank owns that. The bank doesn't own any of this. I've paid this off to the bank or online credit agency doesn't own this anymore either. But bang for buck, again, and no Anderson plugs. If you're not going to have Anderson plugs, at least a second 12 volt socket, because I have ran the fridge on 12 volt, 240 volt through the inverter just to check, and it uses about 1.5 amps an hour more than what it would do on the 12 volt. So if something happened to your fridge cord, you could run the fridge on the 240, but you're going to get chew through your battery even quicker. But that's it for this episode of Equipment Check. Portable power stations, there's a lot of them out there. Do your research, watch some YouTube videos, watch some reviews, see what people are running them on. I love seeing videos of people, they're taking them out in their vans or whatever else. They've got the fridge plugged in, and then they're running 240 stuff, like hot plates, kettles, all that stuff. That there's gas versions, there's versions for the for the fire, other versions that don't require 240. Even 12 volt versions of kettles and that out there. So get out there, do your research. And I can tell you, in the week leading up to Easter, just sitting this in the van instead of spending waiting hour at night out there running wires, crimping, la da 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 da, mounting stuff, lights, SIG sockets, USBs. Money well spent. time well saved.